ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Greenwood District, to be exact, was home to the most successful, most affluent black community. In fact, they called it Black Wall Street. Hospitals, hotels, groceries, all black owned. Black developers built and rented out black homes. Neighboring white districts was hating on our melanin. What we supposed to do? This is blickety black excellent. 100 years ago. What we supposed to do? This is blickety black excellent. What we supposed to do? This is blickety black excellent. What we supposed to do? This is blickety black excellent. What we supposed to do? This is blickety black excellent. What we supposed to do? This is blickety black excellent. What we supposed to do? This is blickety black excellent. What we supposed to do? This is blick.
I like the remix. Let me find out my producer is my producer is a producer. It's a real producer. Good morning. Today is December 22nd, 2021. This is the Urban Talk Radio 103.5 FM WNHH, where you will hear conversation, information, education, inspiration, and motivation from the American urban perspective. I am your host, Kingsley Ossei, and my co-host, Shafiq, will be MIA today. Today on Urban Talk Radio, you can hear the conversation on Facebook at Bowmeister and Twitter. Also on my Facebook page, Kingsley Ossei. You can also stream this show on your smartphone or computer by logging on to newhavenindependent.org. In the home studio today, I have very special guest, a friend from the community, Eldorado Anderson. Now, just give me a moment. Let me read Eldorado's very short bio, and then we will dissect whatever it is that I read later. Eldorado Anderson is going on his 18th year as a public school educator. In 2014, he founded Black Wall Street Bridgeport, an innovative, affordable, and unique platform invented for up-and-coming as well as established Black businesses get their ideas and products in the public eye. Since then, Black Wall Street has spread to New Haven, Connecticut, Springfield, Massachusetts, and most recently, Washington, D.C. Since its inception, over 700 businesses, organizations, and entrepreneurs have participated in this highly touted event with the sole purpose of supporting and encouraging the mindset of Kuchichagiroa. I can't even pronounce this word, so he's going to have to pronounce it later on. Self-determination within the African American community. It depends on what type of tea you had this morning to be able to pronounce that word. I don't think my tea is Afrocentric enough, or I'm not even sure what that word is, but whatever that word is, I need a tea from that country. So what up, Al? What's popping, bro?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm blessed, man. You know, how are you though?
I'm good, man. I think the 19 bug caught me.
It caught you?
I think it caught me. Yeah. I think I'm getting my results today, so I think it caught me. I had it before, so I kind of remember the symptoms, but I think I got it. I'm all good though. Besides my coughing, I'm fine.
Seriously?
No temperature. Yeah.
And of course you are vaccinated.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you don't do the vaccine stuff?
I don't do the vaccine stuff. I mean, some of it is medical because I had reactions to it when I was younger. So, you know, I was advised not to just because I was able to survive the first one.
You know, it's very unfortunate. I just got I was checking on my bro Buddha. Says, you know, you guys know him as Cheeky Star now. He was the Don Coqui, et cetera. I checked on him this morning, you know, because I had checked on his mom on Sunday. His mom is supposedly in ICU and whatnot. So I checked on him and he said, bro, you know, COVID got me again. And, you know, we are best friends with, you know, we have mutual best friends. And my other best friend, big shout out to my man Jazzy, you know, up in the T.O. Toronto. And, you know, we've been speaking and, you know, we have a little disappointment that, you know, our brother Cheeky will just not, you know, get the vaccine, and he's in the mix heavy, you know, I mean, right. Heavy, you know, so it's like, yo, you know, you run in the club scene, you here, you in the hood, like, you know, why don't you just just do it. And I spoke to him this morning, and he was like, "Yeah, man, he caught that COVID again, man." So I'm like, we got to, I can't tell anybody what to do with their body because it is by choice.
Right, right.
We got to protect our family, and if you're not going to vaccinate, then you just got to, you got to mask up.
Right, right.
And because we, the one that are vaccinated, we are, very cautious about not knowing who's coming around us, who is not vaccinated, and also not, masking up.
Right, right.
So, it knocked me. That was knocked down. I took the booster Thursday, and oh man, 3 days of man down.
I believe it.
I mean man down. I mean man down. But I'm like, you know what? I would rather that than a ventilator.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm about to go into the Midwest. I'm about to go into into the red state. I'm about to go to Michigan for the for the Christmas holiday. And I never know who I will come in the mix with, because in the red states, a lot of them are not vaccinating either.
Right. But to each his own, man. As long as everybody stays safe, man.
That's all matter, right? Yes, sir. But rather than that, you good, the family's good.
Everybody's good, man. On my, they're like I said, you came to the party the other day. My oldest is 6 now. And the little one will be 5 in February, man. So just looking forward to seeing them continuously grow, man. They're doing really good.
Time is freaking flying, man. Time is flying.
Right.
So now we're gonna talk about Black Wall Street. Now, if anybody heard my intro was about Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street is it's an American Black Wall Street is what they used.
Kingsley must have just dropped off on the feed.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you want to pick up his intro because it's
I'll do it. I'll do it until he gets back.
All right.
So early in the show, I know he was trying to mention the word Kujichagulia, and the word Kujichagulia is one of the 7 Kwanzaa principles, and Kujichagulia means self-determination. And basically, it's just a principle that says, you're gonna vow to wake up every day and be determined to do something that day to improve you or your community. So that's where the idea of Black Wall Street that came from. And I remember he mentioned that we've had over 700 people participate in the various Black Wall Street events. And the first one was on August 9th, 2014. It's crazy because I felt like it was yesterday. And since then, we've put on about 21 events, including like a holiday event. We had one for Mother's Day. We had one for Father's Day. And our next one is going to be our first Valentine's Day edition of Black Wall Street. And it's all about, getting your significant other a gift or just your friend a gift. Because we have so many dope vendors, man. Even when we had it last week, we had a holiday edition last week in Bridgeport. And shout out to Pastor Kenneth Mose, who allowed us to use his facility. Not just one day, but he gifted the vendors an opportunity to come back and make money on the next day, which was just very heartfelt, which was very lovely. And that's the Black Wall Street way. And for many people that don't know, just to say, the last week we have so many vendors, I couldn't buy everything, but the things that I did buy, I bought some nice oils, I bought some nice soaps, I bought some clothes. It was just very, very nice, man. Very, very smooth. And it was just a blessing. But for those that don't know the history of Black Wall Street it just isn't isolated to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma was probably the biggest one, but it wasn't the only one. So it wasn't, when I say one, it wasn't the biggest community. It wasn't the only community that Black people own pretty much everything. And they, because of the Jim Crow laws back at the time, they were not allowed to shop in white stores. They couldn't buy white meat. They couldn't buy stuff from white farmers. So they say, you know what, we're going to go to our side of town and we're going to raise our crops. We're going to raise our animals and produce. And then we're just going to, and because we can't come to the other side of town, we're just going to have to keep the money where we are. And that grew to the richest Black neighborhood that America ever saw. It was 34 blocks by 34 blocks. And inside those blocks, you had over 600 organizations, including churches, bakery shops. You had 2 movie theaters, a skating ring, ice cream parlor, multiple diners, multiple churches, schools, libraries, hospitals, doctors, lawyers, offices, everything you can name was, you even had the nice little nightclub, the little whiskey lounge. You had those that made whiskey and cigars, and it was amazing, man. It's almost like a modern day Wakanda, if we had that type of thing. I would say a modern day Atlanta. What I've seen as observer, I was so behind the scenes before and just operating and making sure things were straight. I was actually able to sit back and observe the essence of what Black Wall Street was this past weekend. And I walked in there. My main job now is just making sure the vendors have what they need and making sure the marketing is good and making sure that, their experience is worth the money that they're spending. We don't ask for a lot of money. We ask the vendors $40, $50 to come. And, some may come and may not sell anything, but they love the experience. Or there may be some that came, like last week, there was 4 people that came on Saturday. And then when I saw them when they were leaving, I asked them, I said, "Are you coming back on Sunday?" They said, "We would love to come back, but we have nothing to sell." So to know that 4 or 5 people sold out of their stuff, you know what I'm saying? It just goes to show you how powerful this is. And over time, I've had friends who's left their full-time jobs, their full-time quote unquote 9-to-5s, and has gone into business for themselves. For example, my friend Mo Jenkins, who makes Mother Romero LLC, he makes these signature sauces. His product is in over 40 stores between New Hampshire and Delaware in like the whole food or the natural food section. And this all was possible because he came up with a sauce. He put it on some wings and he took it to the library when we had it at the library in Bridgeport.
I remember when he had it. Yep.
You remember that?
Yep.
And people came, he sold out of wings in like 5 minutes. And that gave him the confidence to say, you know what, I can do this. And so the platform, although it may seem like it's for people to make money, it's really for people to see, listen, you have an idea. This is your idea. Put it on display and let's see what people think about your idea. Like this Black Wall Street started from a birthday. Like a friend of mine, for his birthday, he went to a homeless shelter and he made dinner for them. I was like, yo, that is such a dope gesture. You ain't want nobody to do nothing. And I said, I'm not going to have a party and people come and smoke and drink like, yo, man, I had a ball. I was drunk. Now, I wanted to have a different type of party. So I went to BK Lounge. Shout out to Robert Kennedy for hosting the first ever one. He's also just been very supportive of everything I did. But he allowed us to use his parking lot. And we had about 25 vendors, from JB1. He's always been my music people from the beginning when you came too. But then, everybody's been part of the movement. And it's not about me. It's about, 700 businesses that's trying to put their product out there and actually make a living out of it. And it's just very humbling to see the success. I wish everybody could just share the success, but as in business, things just don't work out for everybody. And even for me, it's just something that I love to do. I don't make no money out of it. I mean, you think about all the advertising and the marketing hours and the flyers. I'm actually in the red, but I do it because I love it. It's just so dope to do. And you've seen it. You've been a part of it. You DJ'd it. You've been a part of it. You've been to the shows. Everything. You've poured into the movement, and you've allowed it to grow. So I mean, everybody's a part of it, man.
I have actually participated, as you said. I recall the one we participated at the church parking lot with
Mount Airy.
And that was my give us an opportunity to showcase what Connecticut Against Violence was doing. You not go full blown when it comes to marketing.
Right.
We're able to display our product, and matter of fact, I think I forgot what it is that we had come. We always had some type of event coming up, so it was an opportunity to distribute flyers, talk to parents about what we were doing within the Bridgeport Public Schools, and it was I participated as a network. Tapping into a network, like you say, there's so many different reasons. You may not sell those reasons, but you realize all the different opportunities. Big shout out to my man Big Twin, QB's finest, infamous QB. I see you, checking in. Big Twin, what up, bro? So yeah, I took that opportunity to market our product. Now, let's talk a little bit more into about the historic part of it. It was burned down in 1921 during the Tulsa Race Massacre. Is that correct?
Right. So what happened was there was this guy named Dick Rowland who was in one of the buildings in downtown Tulsa. And what happened is during the buildings, you would have to, you had the elevator person, the person that you have to pull yourself up on an elevator. So on the way up, the elevator kind of got stuck and he fell. And when he fell, he braced himself against a white lady's leg and she screamed assault. So what happened was when she screamed assault, Rowland tried to get out of there. He ran out of there. He was scared for his life. The white people of Tulsa at the time gathered and said, you know what, we're gonna go look for this Dick Rowland. We're gonna catch him and then we're gonna lynch him. So black people heard what the plans were. So black people at that time, of course, they were prepared. They had their guns, they had their rifles, they had their trucks, they were ready. So they protected Dick Rowland. And what happened was, it just, it's speculation as to what happened after that. But it was a confrontation, a gun went off, and then over 300 people, including some white people, were killed and buried. As a matter of fact, about a month ago, they just found an unmarked mass grave in one of Tulsa's cemeteries. And they're doing DNA now to find out if the people were related to those that died in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So once that happened on May 31st, 1921. I want to say it happened it was in the evening, so around 7:00 in the evening, and they rioted the entire night. They burnt down houses the entire night. It went all the way to June 1st, 1921. And at the end of everything, over 600 businesses were burnt down to the ground, including churches, hospitals, and the first time a U.S. plane was used on U.S. civilians in the history of this country. There's multiple documents that said that, not just black people, but white people as well, that a U.S. plane dropped bombs over Black Wall Street. So I know if you ever heard that song, Gap Band, You Dropped a Bomb on Me. Mm-hmm. Charlie Wilson will tell you that's where that came from. And the Gap Band actually derives from the acronym GAP, which stood for Greenwood, Archer, and Pine, which was the streets that was like the Mecca, the intersection Mecca of Black Wall Street. So that's where Gap Band got their name. But yeah, it's just a lot of rich history. It's not, like I said, it's not only did this happen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there is Central Park now in New York. We had a black community there. We had Little Liberia in Bridgeport, Connecticut. We also had it in Durham, North Carolina. And even that movie Rosewood in Florida, that's derived from the place in Florida where we have Black Wall Street too. So they had it in Detroit and in Chicago. So we had these epicenters. But I think the fear and the decisiveness and divisiveness of our community is preventing us from having it again.
Well, let me tell you, we had a Black Wall Street and it wasn't even named Black Wall Street. Arcade Mall was the Black Wall Street for us.
Right.
I recall, selling mixtapes outside the sidewalk of Main Street from Monday through Sunday, killing them. And they just watching us making money, and they didn't want us on the sidewalk anymore. They cut us down to 2 nights. Big shout to everybody that was in the Arcade Mall. R.I.P. to Pops from Drew and Pop, and so they shut us down and limited us to 2 days, right. Saturday and Sunday. So with that being said, where does our customers find us from the Monday through Friday? Started to go into the Arcade Mall. There was nothing in there. The Arcade Mall was completely dead. We went in there, took cheap rents. Rents was like $350 a month, something like that. We took one of the small stores. It was like for my store, it was like 3 of us in one store. It was the silver store. It was silver oils, and then we were selling mixtapes. And then through that, I ended up owning the biggest record store in there. We had the barbershops, everything. So we went from that sidewalk going into the Arcade Mall because they kicked us out. And then later on, they ended up taking it back when we had the Arcade Mall on and popping.
Right. You're right. I mean, now that you said it, when I walked in there, everything was black.
Everything was black. Everything. I mean, everything. There were books being sold in there. We held big event. We held big hip hop. We had, for me, I had a bunch of rappers that came through there. I had Lazy Bone, come down there. I had Mobb Deep. I had Little Kim. Benny Siegel came there on the low. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. And for all the artists that came down there and kids, getting out of school and rushing over there because maybe I had some posters for them or I had some sampler tapes or whatever it is. People coming down there to talk about Nas versus Jay-Z, battles. So that was our Black Wall Street. Now, so what are people, you told us about what people love about Black Wall Street. What are people complaining about in terms of consumers?
Consumers or the vendors?
Not so much of the vendors, but I would say vendors and consumers, both.
Well, I know consumers, they wish that one of the biggest concerns I've always heard was they wish that they could have more access to the vendors. Like we have it maybe 4 times a year. They're wishing if there was a place for them to come like every Saturday, like the flea market has in New Haven, or like they have it in Atlanta and DC. So they can be like if they run out of soap or they run out of oils or they run out of clothes, they ain't got to wait 3 months for the next Black Wall Street. Or they wonder, if they reached out to a vendor and they had a website. When they go back on the website's no longer working, or the email is no longer working, or they say, how can we build clientele if things are not consistent? As far as the vendors are concerned, the vendors wish that they had more opportunities. They wish they had more time. They wish that they wish that we could market it better. And I told them one of the biggest obstacles of marketing, as far as like making it like billboards, big old commercials, it costs $1,500 minimum, I believe, to have a billboard in Bridgeport, right? So if there's 50 vendors and you're charging them
each person,
you're charging $50 per person, that's $2,500, right? So that's $1,500 of that is going to a billboard. So that's going to leave $1,000 to pay security. I have to pay liability just in case something happens. I have to pay insurance. If you sell food, I got to pay the health department. That $1,000 is gone already. Now the rest of the money is coming out of my pocket. So now we're talking about boosting on Facebook. You're boosting on Instagram, Twitter. Then you have to pay for the flyers. Then if you have music, you got to pay for the DJ. Or if you have anything, if you got somebody coming by doing photos, not only that, you have to pay for the rental fee of whatever facility, or you could give a donation. You know what I mean? So my thing is, like I said, I don't want to charge people $100, Kingsley, because if you come, I charge you $100, you only make $80, you lost $20. I don't want to do that. I'd rather you charge $50, you come and make $75. At least you make $25 and have the experience, or you got some clientele. Because what I saw a lot of people do on Saturday was, I didn't know you had this. I have to go to the car, or I need to go to the bank, or I need to do this, or can you ship it to me? So I know people that made money yesterday, and people that made money on Monday based off of interaction that happened on Saturday and Sunday. And if you look at some of the vendors, not all vendors have websites. Not all vendors have Facebook pages or Instagram or Twitters or Snapchats. So what I'm trying to do when we do these events is for people to kind of go vendor to vendor and say, what are you doing differently to market yourself? What are you doing here? Last time, brother Kelvin Ayala, and I forgot my homegirl name. She's gonna kill me. They work together. Natalie, Bridgeport. I missed her last name. Anyway, they were secret shoppers at the last event.
Natalie from Norwalk.
There was secret shoppers at the last event in September.
She's down with what do you call it?
Yes.
Bridgeport. What do you call it?
Yes. Natalie. Yep, Natalie. She's really, really, really nice. Anyway, their organization gifted the vendor who best marketed themselves and had the most potential for growth with a $500 check on the spot. And the thing was, I didn't tell the vendors beforehand. You know what I mean? I said, don't tell the vendors we're coming. I'm going to go around. I want to see who's going to put themselves out there, who's going to act like they love their product. We're going to act like who's really trying to sell me their product. And out of the 60 vendors, the one vendor, he was there. I want to say he does either royalty, creams or Faith and Royalty. Anyway, I forgot the brother's name. Really cool brother. But anyway, he makes these balms for your hair and beard and oils, and his product line, his table setup, his personality was all on point, man. And he won $500, man. And you know, we do things like that because you never know. I got somebody, I met with somebody yesterday who wants to do that for a couple vendors. You know, he want to do maybe a couple $250 scholarships. Not scholarships, but like $250, you know, here you go for something that you can go and expand your business with. You know what I mean? So this is, you know, it took Black Wall Street, the real Black Wall Street, it took them about 12, 13 years for it to gain its prominence. And like with ours, with you know, we have a different day and time now. You know, we've been doing this since 2014. We're still building the plane at it as it goes. But one thing I know for sure is that the integrity of what it is keeping everything together, and it's getting people to come. Like I posted the flyer for the new event, and by far this is the fastest any vendors have signed up for any of my Black Wall Streets. We're almost sold out in 5 days. We're almost sold out of space. You know what I mean? Now I don't want to. Anybody can be greedy. I'm like, no, we got to go for a bigger space. I want 200 vendors. No, we're gonna keep it small, keep it intimate, and over the summer, you know, when we're able to go outside, we want to shut down a couple blocks, either Stratford Avenue, Union Avenue, and do it the right way outside. We attempted to do that a couple years ago, but the rain, it was just horrible. It was just rain on it. But we still made it happen in 2 days. So, I mean, we have people that support us. And you know, one thing I always think about, you know, you go to McDonald's and your fries ain't hot, but you got to go to work. You're still gonna go. You're not gonna stop going to McDonald's. You're gonna go back, you know, another day and hope the thing is better. It's the same thing with our businesses. You know, we got to make sure that even if we have a bad experience with our businesses or vendors, you'd be like, you know what, put them to the side, send them an email, like, listen, you know, I saw this, I noticed this, you know, this kind of was a turn off. Can you do this differently? Instead of going and blasting them, you know what I mean, and doing stuff like that. You know, we already got people against us. The last thing we need to do is be against ourselves, man. I've seen a lot of people keep the integrity going, man. That's the positive part of what's going on with the street.
Okay, I'm gonna go to do a station identification, and I'm gonna come back and touch on something that you said about people having a hard time finding these vendors instantly. This is the Urban Talk Radio 103.5 FM WNHHLP. I am your host, Kingsley Ossei. And if you are joining us today on Urban Talk Radio, you can join the conversation on Facebook at Bold Minds, also Twitter at Bold Minds, and on my Facebook page, Kingsley Ossei. You can also stream this show on your smartphone or computer by logging on to newhavenindependent.org. In the studio, we have a very special guest, Eldorado Anderson, talking about the Black Wall Street, and we will also talk about him being an educator and a few other things. Now, El, my whole thing is there is a hood mall in mostly every urban, you know, city. You know, New Haven once upon a time had a Chapel Square Mall, and a few others. When you go even deep in the hood, you know, Bridgeport, we had the Arcade Mall. You go to Harlem on 125th Street, there's a few, you know, of those spots where people just get a little vending spot, you know, in there. So why are these vendors not coming together and say, hey, you know, let's talk to the city about a property that is not being utilized. Let's form a coalition and get this property over here so that we can vend in here, whereby your rent could be $100, $150 for a whole month, that you don't have to store to yourself and you don't have to worry about paying for the staff, the electricity bill, and all that other stuff that goes along with it. You know, what is the bigger goal of these vendors? You know, do you ever ask them that, hey, you know, what is your goal? Do you dream to have a store, or you just relying on us to host these events in order to get your products off?
I believe 2016, we launched a Black Wall Street conglomerate, was about 50 people, 50 business owners. And the goal was to work our way toward, purchasing some type of property, whether it's a gutted out house or a gutted out apartment building. And unfortunately, I think the one thing that's not just happened then, but it always happened when you talk about things like, you have people who don't trust other people,
right?
You have people who they're too prideful to say, you know what, I don't know everything. Let me take a step back. And when you have too many Indians, you have too many chiefs and not enough Indians, these things tend to slow down the process. I remember even we almost got close to purchasing a building that was going to be on Stratford Avenue for groceries, simple groceries, like a small market. And the stress that came out of the proudness and the pride that people exemplified during that process, it'll turn anybody off. You got to really be patient. You got to really want it. And you have to really be resourceful. This is coming at a time where, I just had my first child, working on, about to have my second daughter. And the worst thing people can waste is your time and then your energy. I think wasted time and energy is worse than wasted money, because, you can get some money back, but you can't get that time. You can't get that energy back. So I think that if those that really want to come to the table and actually have a mature conversation, we can get started. But then, when you get started, you start looking at the numbers. Say 10 of us go in, right? And the rent is what, $700 a month, right? So I'm sorry, the rent is $7,000 a month. We got to pay $700 a month, right? 5 of those people are like, okay, I can do that, right? And then you got 3 that's like, I can do it, but I don't know. And then you got 2 that'll be like, you know what? I think I can do it. I'm gonna try it. What happens when in month 3, those 2 people said that they think they could do it, they drop out, say, listen, I can't do this no more, right? But by this, you got your orders coming in, you packing in. So now that 7,000 being split up into 10, now it has to be split up into 8. Then when it's split up into 8, 3 of those people that said, you know what, I could do it, now they're like, you know what, I didn't bargain to pay this extra $200 a month. So now I'm gonna have to back away. So now that 7,000 is now split up between 5 people. That's 1,400 instead of paying $700 a month. And over time, unless your product is really booming like that, that's where the trust comes in. That's when the pride comes in, and then boom, we're back to square one. Like Dr. Claude Anderson, he wrote this book called Powernomics, man. And he talks about how we have to educate ourselves on the basics of doing things together in like a conglomerate way. So we have to go in knowing like, okay, in this next year, I'm going to sacrifice $6,000 in this next year. It's already coming out the bank. I can't go back and touch it. It's already here. And then 12 other people have to come to the table and say, here's my $6,000 too. And this is our plan, and we're going to execute our plan. And at the end of 12 months, if we're not where we need to be, based on what we discussed, what we want it to be, then we'll make a decision there. But very rarely do we ever get to come to the table, start. So I think that's where it's at. In addition to that, there's a lot of people that's in the city that don't want to see Black people come together like this, because it's going to mess up their status quo, or it's going to mess up what they're trying to do. I think there's a mental stronghold, not just in Bridgeport, in New Haven, Atlanta, Chicago, that's preventing us from doing this. And I think unless we educate ourselves on what it looks like, literally open up the book and read it and master it like the other races do, then we're going to continue to be in this position.
We got 20 more minutes to wrap up, and I have a few things I would like to highlight. So trying to keep it brief as we count down this 20 minutes. Now, I recall speaking to you one time about the educational part of it, that I was getting frustrated with giving accounts from my programming to men, and women of color businesses and I found myself chasing them for invoices and quotes that, these people are running business that never have the time. Either they don't know how to do it or they don't even have the time to do it. How do you run a business and say, I do not have the time to operate my business? Then why are you in business? And I recall telling you that maybe you should add that component into Black Wall Street, have somebody there teach people how to do a code, how to write invoices, and etc. I'm not sure if you ever executed it or not.
Yeah, we did with Wayne Winston. I don't know if you know Wayne.
Of course.
Wayne Winston with the model.
Yeah.
He came and did a workshop with us. We had about 20 people, and he went from the very basics on even how to set up a Facebook page and how to set up an Instagram page and how to set up a PayPal.
He's an IT.
Yeah, how to set like what I do with my invoices is real simple. PayPal, go to PayPal, so there's always proof of the transaction. Cash App may not always be the best way, or Zelle, because there's really no paper trail. But for my tax purposes and for your tax purposes, you have an invoice. But anyway, to go back on your point, when you talk about not being able to run your business, all of my friends who are in business that are not Black, who are white, who are Asian, they have taught me so much about what makes it successful. For example, when it comes to out of all my Black Wall Streets, all the people who may not have been Black, and I'm not trying to, and it's not all Black people, but there's been some, like even now. If you want to be a part of if you sign a contract saying, if in 8 hours you have to pay something, or you're going to be removed from the list, the people that are non-Black, as soon as they get the invoice, they pay it. Some Black people get the invoice and just sit there. And then what PayPal does, PayPal allows you to see people who looked at the invoice. So not only did you look at the invoice, you know that within 8 hours, your invoice is not going to be valid, but you still haven't paid. And when it comes to like the thoughts of that, it's I can say it's a turn on. I think it's, like you said, don't sign up for something you're not going to follow through. And I only said that because it relates to what you said. How are you going to have a business but don't have time to invest in your business?
It's called business. Busy.
That's it. It is. Time is money, man. Time is money, or you'll lose out all the time. And it's just like, it doesn't surprise me. I'm not surprised by it no more. But like I said, as an educator and as an author, I try to give people something to bite off, chew, plant some seeds. And unfortunately, I've had more response from people that don't look like me when it comes to the educational component. Not just what I write, but in business. Most of my sponsors, like T-Mobile, Sprint, the fitness centers, the one person that's always been a good sponsor, a true sponsor, has been, like I said, Mo Jenkins of Muggers Marrow. And I'm not talking about thousands of dollars. Just somebody say, I'm going to invest in you because you invest in thing. And that allows us to advertise more, or that allows us to bring more people in, or that allows us to host the event a longer time. But I think that one thing that I've seen is that people come, we have these great ideas. There's so many dope-ass entrepreneurs out here. Dope. They have ideas, and then they don't prepare themselves as far as knowing the ins and outs of business. One of the things I did after I graduated college, I took this class. In order to go to Sacred Heart for my master's, I had to take a couple other classes. So I took this Intro to Business class as an elective. When I tell you that was the best class out of all the classes I've ever took at Virginia State University, and even now at Bowie State, the business Introduction to Business 101 was the most influential class that I taught, that I learned, because it showed you what make businesses fail and what make businesses succeed, from the customer service to the planning, to the marketing, to the capital, to the credit. I mean, things I had no idea about. And if I didn't take that class, I would have said, you know what, I'm going to open up a Black Wall Street store. I'm going to have all these vendors coming here, and they're going to pay me this, and they're going to pay me that, not knowing that over time, okay, I got to pay for electricity, I got to pay for this, I got to pay for that. And if the vendors don't come through, then I'm going to be stuck with the bill. And I'm not going to be stuck with the bill. I can't be paying more money than I have. And then, that leads to frustration, it leads to discouragement. And it's like, we just got to break that cycle, man. So I think, like you said, we do need to come up with something that is going to educate all types of vendors, because there are vendors that are on the high spectrum of technology and they know all this, but they don't know the minor things when it comes to business. And you got people that know the minor things that come to business, but may not be technologically savvy and business minded. So I think we have to provide a platform for people not to feel intimidated, for people to come in and say, you know what, I'm going to learn. I'm not going to feel bad about what I learned. There's no judgment policy. At the end of the day, what made Black Wall Street so successful was the Black people, they had their business. The children, part of the children would be in the business doing their homework, watching their parents run the business. And when they got older, their parents sent them away to college to say, you know what, we have to keep up with technology, learn that, come back in here, they'll put that into the business, and then we're going to grow. It grew and grew and grew. It's called nepotism. We just don't do that no more. Not that many Black-owned businesses that are raising their children in business. But you go to the Chinese restaurant, you see the little boy, little girl in the back doing their homework, but they're also seeing how they're cooking that fried rice and how they're getting that money in the front counter. Same thing at the pizza place, the Italian store. I was at Baji's the other day and saw the young children in the store working.
That's trying to change the segue. Like I said, I have a couple. You have a very rich history story leading to writing a book, and I would like to touch on that before we can wrap up. You grew up from the streets of Stratford Avenue. I believe you are also your family is the Jacksons, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if you do know if you've heard of the story. Coming up as a DJ, one of the first places that I had opportunity to go into the club scene was Jackson's Lounge. Big shouts to Willie Jack, shouts to Annette. So those were also part of my family, DJing on Stratford Avenue, having the I'm not sure if it was the Rats or the Cats. I can't remember which ones was on that side of town, but those guys protected me, very well. So I am very familiar. So I need you to tell, let's talk about your history growing up on Stratford Avenue, leading to writing this book called The Gentleman in the Gray Suit. And then we also would like to touch on being an educator.
Right. So I grew up on Stratford Avenue. My mom moved from Logan Street to Stratford Avenue in 1985. So we didn't live off Stratford Avenue. We lived on Stratford Avenue between Wilmot and Carroll. The house is still there. And I grew up on the right side of me. Pretty much it was a drug factory like Nino Brown. A friend of mine, I could put his name out there, but a friend of mine I grew up with, he used to stay there for hours and used to see people lined up getting drugs every day, all day. And I thought that was natural. Grew up some more. And in 1991, I think you remember, Bridgeport had the highest homicide rate
definitely
in the country. And the East End made up for like 75% of those homicides. It was a point in the summer of 92, I think, that there was a murder almost on every corner from 5th Street all the way down to Logan. So I grew up, and I'll never forget one of the most traumatic things that I've been a part of, out of many of them. I had a friend named Edwin, that he was about 2 years older than me, but everybody knew him in the neighborhood, Puerto Rican. Not too many Puerto Ricans lived on the East End at that time. This is in 1991. I was in 6th grade. And I remember going home. I was at McKinley School, walked down 2 blocks, heard gunshots, and I heard a whole bunch of people start running from Stratford Avenue down Hollister going toward Connecticut Ave. I ran because I want to know what's going on. So I get there, and as I'm walking there, my friend Ricky Owen, rest in peace, Ricky, he just passed away last week. I just heard about it. Rest in peace to Ricky. Ricky said, "El, you don't want to see that." I'm going to find out Edwin didn't want to give up his bike. Brother shot him in the head. Brains was all over the floor. And as a 6th grade student, looking at that, You'll never forget that. You can't erase what you saw. You can't do that. And then even the people that you was there, that you witnessed it with, the years later, we can't even talk about it because it was that traumatic. When I was in 8th grade at Dunbar, there was a gunfight not at my house, but it was going back and forth. And 2 bullets entered my house. One right at the window where I probably would have been sitting if I was not at the Taylor Center playing basketball at the time. And then one through the front door of my house. And the bullet hole is still in the house, and it's still on top of you see the entry mark on the top of the roof. So growing up in that era, I thought hearing gunshots every day, people dying every day was natural. Like I've actually seen a friend of mine, my friend Adrian, give me palm on 1400 Stratford Avenue, and 4 minutes later he's dead in front of the Petways on Stratford Avenue. Like 4 minutes, bro. And to grow up like that, I said, you know what? I don't want my life to end like that. There was a pool hall next door to my house. It was only one way in. I was playing pool one day, and unfortunately, shots came in. The person next to me that was playing pool got shot. They didn't die. But at the same time, bullets ain't got no name or no place. And when I ducked down after the shots were down, I couldn't get out. There was no way to get out the front. It was coming out the front. I told myself, I told God, I said, if I survive this, I'm not going to die like this. I'm going to make a difference. And that's what kind of fast forwarded me into education. I've been teaching since 2004. I started at Amistad in New Haven, ended up in Bridgeport for 9 years as the dean of students. And then I came down to DC where I'm at now. I started writing my book in 2012 at Amistad Academy. The Gentleman in a Gray Suit. It took me 8 years, got it published last June. And the whole premise is what will happen if our young Black men put down the guns and picked up books, and how we can turn funerals into graduations. It's a fun story. It's pretty much based off The Matrix. Shout out to Sophia Stewart, who wrote The Third Eye, who also, that's where the story of The Matrix came from. She reached out to me about 2 weeks ago. We had like a 2-hour conversation about making this book into a movie. And things just been working out that way, Brother Kings. It also led to the second book, The Shield. It talks about the superpowers of our young Black females and what it looks like when they apply it. And that's what it is, man. Like I said, I have
my signed copy just to let
yes, you do. Know. Yes, you do, brother. Yep. And being in education, I've lost since 2004, unfortunately. I've lost over 20 kids, either to death or to the prison system. The main character in my first book, his name is Aaron. Aaron is now serving 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter in Massachusetts. In the book, the character was named after him because he was one of the first students that I met when I was at Domus Academy. He was the first student that I met. We bonded. I just remembered his face, and I said he would be a perfect character to this movie, and unfortunately he was, made some bad decisions and is currently serving some time, man. But, I still dedicated to him. And, I still wish him well if he could either hear this podcast. I sent him the book. I don't know if he got it, but that's where we're at, bro. This is a real life situation.
So, wow. So there had to be some type of challenges. How did you survive a place like the Avenue? I know how I survived, being around those places. I tell my story about, and I appreciate Willie Jack, because as a DJ, we always want to be on that big stage, that big club. The beauty of Jackson's Lounge, I will go to New York every Friday to VIP Record Pool to pick up all the latest records. What people didn't know is that little bar right there was getting the best of every music that was coming out. I mean, right. Not to be on my own joint, but I was breaking music in Connecticut. I broke almost every bad boy music there was in Connecticut, Wu-Tang. Being in that record pool, I had access to music that was coming out fast, white label, before it hit retail. And, so I had that opportunity to play whatever I can. I mean, I'm talking about coming straight out of New York, straight right. into the bar, and being able to play all this new music to these gangsters without the shackles, Right. And, those things gave me the opportunity to not have to be so caught up in the street, find my passion as to what I love. And, what was yours? How did you survive the avenue leading to becoming an
honestly,
educator?
man,
I haven't even touched on you being an educator. So 1 second before you say anything, we're going to be signing off in 2 minutes. And then we're going to be signing off on the radio in 2 minutes. And then we will have another 15 minutes on our Facebook.
Okay.
Finish. Now go ahead.
So growing up, my mom kept me involved. She just didn't keep me at home. So I played basketball, I played baseball, and I bowled, something I still do today. But then I also was very, my father wasn't there, but I was very influenced by my uncles, the Jacksons, Uncle Leroy, Bobby, Henry. If I'm walking on Stratford Avenue, I saw one of them at least once a day. So they all, and I knew I couldn't do nothing and them not see it. So they subconsciously kept me in line. And then most of all, my best friend, Daryl Baker.
Where's Jerry?
Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry. Willie Jackson. Jerry. Oh, Jerry, you don't know him?
No. Okay. My best friend, Daryl Baker, he lived on Hollister. We knew each other in 6th grade, but we became best friends in 9th grade. We both went to Central. And, he kind of he was that like missing father piece, but he was my brother, but I grew up in a house full of women. So he was that dude that I could say, you know what, I can emulate myself after him, his style, the way he carried himself. We both was in church, but he came from a 2-parent home, whereas I came from a 1-parent home. And, everything he did, I wanted to do, but he also didn't take advantage of that and led me down to some positive things. And, I'm eternally grateful for him for not, exposing me to things that I probably wouldn't have been aware of. Like I could have got down with Junior Brotherhood. I could have got down with Nation. But I was friends with everybody. I was friends with people in Brotherhood.
Could have got down with Mad Brothers.
I could have got down with everybody, but I knew everybody. I didn't have to. Like the Jacksons, they weren't a gang, but like my uncles, they cool. They ran the East End. So I didn't really have to. I was good, And then I had my cousin Harvey and Mike. Like they were my big brothers. Michael Jackson. Like they were my big brothers. I didn't have to want. If I ever had an issue, I knew who to go to. But I wasn't a person with beef. I didn't have beef. I didn't fight people. I'm not that dude. But growing up on Stratford Avenue, it made you like, listen, I bought my first gun in 8th grade in Dunbar in the bathroom. And I didn't know what to do with it. And if I had got caught then, my life would probably be so different now. But it's probably still in the storm drain that's at the corner of Stratford Avenue and Union on the side street by Sunshine Deli. If they was to ever clean up that drain spot, they would probably find a little 22 I bought in 8th grade.
Okay, so we're going to sign up the radio, and then we're going to come back, and I have to ask you a couple of questions about LUG, League of Urban Gentlemen, and I'm not sure if you really dissected what their book was about and who you featured in the book and the cover, and why. Big shout out to Vernon Thompson, who is on the cover of their book as well. Very talented. Recording artist and an educator. So we're going to sign off on the radio, and then we're going to come back and finish the conversation. So if you are listening to the radio and you want to follow the dialogue, you could follow, you could go back on my Facebook page or NewHavenIndependent.org Facebook page or Eldorado Anderson's Facebook page. So where the conversation will continue. This is the Urban Talk Radio 103.5 FM WNHHLP. I am your host, Kingsley Ossei. And if you are just joining us in the last part of our show, you can follow the conversation on Facebook at Bold Minds and Twitter at Bold Minds. Also on my Facebook page, Kingsley Ossei. You can also stream this show and previous shows on your smartphone or computer by logging on to NewHavenIndependent.org. Thank you for joining us. Remember, Urban Talk Radio airs every Wednesday at 11 a.m. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a wonderful Happy New Year. And please mask on, because Omicron, whatever his name is, he is not playing. The virus have surged, it's elevated, and it always elevate after every holiday because people let their guards down. People, please live for your family. All right. Happy holiday again. Big shouts to our producer, Harry Draws, for for holding us down. Big shouts to my co-host who is not in today. Wishing him well. And Harry, do you want to You want to sign us off with the promo?
We're already signed off, so you could just continue.
Okay, so we have in our home studio, we have Eldorado Anderson, who is an author, entrepreneur, a mentor, and also an educator. And we would like to talk about his book, The Gentleman in the Gray Suit, along with the shield. So Eldorado, let's talk about that book. What led to that book, and what it's all about, and the people featuring in that book.
What led me to write the book is that, you know, those that don't know, when it comes to education, my specialty is English writing, ELA. And I noticed that, you know, throughout my experiences in the public schools, our young children, especially boys, they are intimidated by reading, especially when it's these words that they don't know. And when you're intimidated by reading, it makes you not want to be interested in what you're reading or doing any work. So reading and writing comes hand in hand. So if you're not interested in what you're reading, you're not going to be able to verbally or by writing express what it is. So I remember how I felt reading Gone with the Wind and Mice and Men and all these different, The Great Gatsby, all these big literature books that the United States Department of Education says you need to learn and to be, fluid in reading and writing. You got to read these books. But I was in a third grade reading level when I was in fifth grade. I didn't know. It wasn't because I didn't like it wasn't because I couldn't read. Like I did not like what I was reading. I couldn't get excited about Rumpelstiltskin. And I couldn't get excited about that. So I said, you know what? I've researched and I looked for books that, you know, there are some other authors out there, Jawanza Kunjufu, a lot of different authors that have made books for our youth. But I wanted to make something that was going to hit a little close to home, that was going to involve, you know, anything from violence, but nothing. I didn't want to be like but those little watered down movies on Netflix where, you know, every movie is about somebody that just got out of jail, that got shot, and now he fell in love with the preacher's daughter. Like I don't want to do that. That's not reality for me. So I wanted to infuse fantasy, which is something fun, sci-fi, with a real urban story. So the premise is, Aaron is the chosen one that's going to save the black male race, not black females, but the black male. And he finds this out because the Medega, who Vernon plays, Medega is like the leader of this secret society called the Guild, right? Now you can be in the Guild. Nobody knows who the Guild is except for the Guild, right? So you can be in the Guild. I'm in the Guild. Burns in the Guild. Ent's in the Guild. John Lett's in the Guild. All these different people that's in the Guild, they don't know. It's a secret society. But what we don't know is that all of us have superpowers. Like you have a superpower, I have a superpower. And people don't know that the start of the Guild happened on June 2nd, 1921. So do you see how I'm trying to correlate something? So what happened before that? What happened 2 days before June 2nd? You just mentioned it.
Black Wall Street.
Black Wall Street.
Yep.
So the people in the Guild are the remnants of the people that survived Black Wall Street, that disappeared, that went underground. 100 years later, after seeing all the chaos, all this police brutality, all black on black crime, they say, you know what? We finally found a young man that's going to save all of us. So he goes to the library. He's about to get killed, like Stratford Avenue Library. If you read the book, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You go on Stratford Avenue Library. He's about to get killed. The only way that he's not going to get killed, he has to get out the building, right? He doesn't know how to get out the building until the sun shines through the light, through the library, and it shines on his book, right? When he opens up the book, it's like a MacGyver type of book. It teaches you how to get out of small spaces. He reads the book, he gets out the library. He then realizes, oh shit, to take over this world, all I got to do is open up books and open up more books and get more and more intelligent and more and more intelligent, more and more intelligent. And then he brings this information to Chicago, to Memphis, to East St. Louis, to Compton, to New York, everywhere in the United States. For one day, there's no killings. There's no black on black crimes, no murders in the United States, right? This what happens. This what happens at the end of the book. And then it leads to the beginning of the second book, which is the Shield, and boom. And then the Shield is like the Shield is the middle part between the first book and the second book. I'm most excited about the third book because that's where the real action and the real like, oh shoot, like this could really happen comes back. It's really dope, man. So it's like an infusion of the Matrix in the Lord of the Rings, but in the urban fantasy fiction type. It's
and
very
and why did you feature those gentlemen, and of course, you know.
Oh, I had a particular look that I was going for, and you know, I could have paid Fiverr to send me like 4 actors, but like, nah, man, I needed something that you gotta
keep it grassroots, and you gotta
try to keep it as grassroots as possible. Now, the 4 people that's on that book, man, they have impacted my life tremendously. You know, I won't go and share everything that they've been to me, but you start with Vernon. Me and Vernon's been tight since 6th grade. We played basketball together. That's when we first met, and we've been tight forever. He's the godfather of both my children, and we've always been aligned mentally when it comes to education and it comes to what's going on in our city. And you know, I look up to him as a role model, and I look up to him as somebody that I've always admired. And whenever I felt down or whenever I felt my vision wasn't going in the right direction, he would be there to say, "Nah, El, I'm not going to allow you to stop." Like there's one song off of the it's not an album, but he wrote a song based on the first book. Not many people have heard it, but it's like one of the dopest songs I've ever heard. Like I'm only, the reason why I haven't shared it, because if we make the movie, that's going to be the theme song.
You told me that during a cigar talk that you were going to share it.
I did tell you that. I shared it with you, but you couldn't hear it. I'm gonna share it with you later. But anyway, you move on to him. Then next to him is you got Anthony Marshall. I met Anthony when Anthony was about that life. Like before he went to jail, I met Ant at the time. Ant was out here wilding out. But there was something special. There was something special about our connection. We never was tight in high school, but we knew of each other and we saw each other. And I always knew, because he was tight with John Lett and all them and Rashid and them. And I was cool with them too. But he was out here in these streets. So after he came out, he did with 14 and a half. He came out and we immediately connected, man. And he's always been that other ear. Like, you know, if I need to talk to somebody, he's there. If he sees me going a little off, he'll be like, "Here, let me remind you why you're doing this." And, you know, he's always been right there. He's so into the trenches, like to the trenches of, he's losing kids every day that he's close with, that look up to him for it. Like, he's losing them. And for him to be mentally strong and to go through that, I had to pay homage to him. So I put him on the book. Curtis next to him. I met Curtis when we did we had a meeting with on the East End about the violence, and Curtis came, and you know, his spirit automatically just latched on to mine, man. Very quiet, smooth, just relaxed about that life, brother, man. He just put me on to a lot of stuff, and he's been a big supporter. And he just had that look I wanted on my book. And then Warren, I met Warren. His daughter went to my school, and he was one of very, very few involved parents. I saw him every day. So you don't see Black fathers every day like that. I saw him every day. And we connected then. We've been tight since 2006. Come to find out, he's cousins with my brother-in-law. So when I come home, we always gather together. And he always tells me, like, we have our meetups at the P1 Juice Bar. Every time I come home, I didn't get to do it this time. But we sit and talk, man. And he's another person that encourages me, like, hell, people may not be reading it, but you got to understand, all of this is going to make sense and it's going to be big one day. So, you know, God has led me to put them on the book. I mean, I could have put my brothers, my nephews. I just felt like those 4 people were the first people I wanted on the book.
All right. So, lastly, we're going to talk about LUG, League of Urban Gentlemen. Yes, you know, I respect you as a community leader, and I do recall when this movement started. I know every gentleman is or was or is a part of this organization. You guys were doing very great work in the community. Where did you guys left off at?
So it's funny you say.
And let's talk about this organization and what it was.
Right.
About.
So the League of Urban Gentlemen, we decided that we wanted to give the young urban male some type of experience, or we want to be able to provide what the brotherhood may look like and provide experiences for them to participate in, to understand what it looks like to be a productive urban young male. So like, I don't know if you remember when we first started, we had an event like every 2 months, whether it was a community cleanup, whether it was doing something at the library. Like we did something every month. And it all started because, we were all friends anyway. Like there were more people that was in other circles, and there were people in, there was other guys in other circles, but we knew of each other. We usually knew of each other. So we went to, I believe one of the organizations had a bus trip to DC for the Million More March. It was one of those rallies in 2014. I believe me, Kev, Odie, Harry, Cornelius, and I believe Malik. Yeah, we all went. Jazz and them couldn't come. But we went, and we were so inspired by what we saw. We was like, yo, we got to keep this going back at home. So we decided to, you know what, let's come together and let's just see what we can make out of it. So we met at Kefren Studios, and that pretty much was the start of it. I mean, lately it's not like we left off. It's just that like life happened, and it was just like, okay, we got to take care of some other things right now. Not to get too much into it, like everybody has their own vices, but recently we decided to do a toy drive, something that we always did during Black Wall Street, and only 3 people could make it. 3 of the men could make it, but through that we got donations and we got toys that we're giving out this weekend. So even though we're not as busy as we used to be, we are still very connected. I remember even at Efren's birthday party last month, we were all there. And it was just like, it was like nostalgia, like, yo, we got to do this. We got to do this again. So Malik moved. Malik's in Atlanta, but he's still very a part of the organization. I moved to DC, but I'm still very part of the organization. I think we're brainstorming ways that we can still impact the community while living our life and just trying to make different things. People got married, people got divorced. So it's been a lot. Like I said, life happens. People had kids. But at the same time, we understand that what was represented with love is still very important. Like even the brothers, me and the boys, they're still doing their thing. We try to support them as much as possible, as they've always supported us. But like, we're discussing growth. We're discussing, bringing new energy, bringing new people to the fold. But we just know, like, we don't want to open it up and grow too fast and lose the integrity. But we've reached a point, like we definitely need to keep the momentum going.
All right. Now, so what made you leave Bridgeport? I mean, what made you leave Bridgeport to Maryland? In Maryland, by the way. And what's the name of the school? It's by one of my.
The name of the school is Maya
School.
Yep, Maya Angelou Public Charter School. It's under the See Forever Foundation. We're one out of 6 schools in DC that service, not underprivileged, but students we love the most. Some students who have trauma, who've had trauma a part of their life. We try to provide them a peaceful environment to learn and to grow from. And I love it. Where I was before in Bridgeport, I felt I wasn't growing anymore. And I felt that the students' best interest wasn't at hand where I was at. So, it was a very hard decision because I knew I was uprooting my family to come down here. But I think it's the best decision I've ever made, because if I didn't move down here, I probably wouldn't have written my books or finished them. I'm in grad school now at Bowie State. I wouldn't have gone to Bowie State. I would probably be sitting in Bridgeport miserable. Because now when I go to Bridgeport, it's not like I'm miserable when I go to Bridgeport, but it's just like, I go to Bridgeport, I see my people, it's time to go. It's time to come back. I love Bridgeport, but I just felt, I saw how I was mentally in Bridgeport. And when I go back and I'm reminded of that, I'm like, I got to get out of here.
I just got a FYI from my producer that Lit Fest will be putting on a Black Comic-Con Diaspora Con on April 23rd, 2022 at Quinnipiac. Are you familiar?
Yes. My stepson, Aiden, he's all into those cons, bro. So he'll probably, if I tell him that, he'll probably want to come home.
All right. So before we leave, just give us a wrap up on your next event and a piece of advice for anybody that's willing to listen.
So the next event is February 12th in Bridgeport. The Valentine's Day, Love Day, whatever you want to celebrate it. Come on down, buy your loved ones a gift, support our vendors. And then the advice I would give anybody is, go with your heart, man. Whatever it is that you do in at your job and relationships, go with what feels right. And don't be afraid to go at it alone. Some people feel like they need to have somebody to push them or to help them. Sometimes the best ideas come from isolation, and the best growth comes from isolation. And don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to say you tried something that didn't work out. Don't be afraid to try. At least when you tried something and you gave it all you had, and it didn't end up the way it is. Just know there's a reason why God made it that way, and just don't give up. Keep the that new song and keep applying pressure to yourself and never get satisfied.
Well, thank you very much, Eldorado Anderson, for joining the show today. And please don't forget, join us every Wednesday from 11 a.m. live right here on WNHH. I am your host, Kingsley Ossei, Director of Connecticut Against Violence. Oh man, my producer hooked me up with a nice nice joint over there. Look at what's really, really going on.
That's dope. I need, can you do that for Black Wall Street too? I need that. Hit me up afterwards. I need you to do that for Black Wall Street.
Hell, I need my outro music, man. I need my outro music. Matter of fact, I was about to play the whole record.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, there you go.
Greenwood District, to be exact, was home to the most successful, most affluent Black community. In fact, they called it Black Wall Street. Hospitals, hotels, groceries, all Black owned. Black developers built and rented out Black homes. Neighboring white districts was hating on our melanin. What we supposed to do? This is blickety Black excellence. One day a Black boy named Dick Rowland went strolling to use the closest Black-only bathroom that he could get hold of. Stepped on the elevator and failed. He grabbed Sarah Page, a white girl who got startled and yelled. So he fled the scene, or presumably innocent, cause a white woman screams enough to get a brother lynched. The clerk called the police and said she was attacked, but she said he never assaulted her. That's facts. The next day, police found him at his mama house, put him in handcuffs and took him to the drama house. The newspaper reported and lied in they print, said a Negro attacked a white woman and he would be lynched. Now word traveled town that a brother would be hanged, so the racists stormed the courthouse to watch the whole thing. But feds never had plans to kill him. Had him holed up at the top floor jail in the building. What started out as a few hundred Beckys and Bobs turned into a 2,000-person racist lynch mob. No weapons concealed, they threatened to kill him. Police ready to shoot any rioters who stepped in the building. Then Black citizens showed up with guns. They heard the same rumors, went to protect them from being hung. Police told whites to leave, they loudly denied. Police asked Blacks to leave, they went and complied. This was not fine, gentlemen on both sides.